It's time to take this home.
On my kicker tonight, I will kick straight and hard about Lamada. Not the poor hotel, but the political circus around it. I just got back from Uganda this afternoon, and from the conversations on the streets there, the Lamada circus needs to end for two reasons. First, it is painting our country as a small, idiotic, and mediocre gossip corner version of a state. Secondly, it is painting the government as idle, clueless, and childish. On the latter, no one should begrudge the government such characterization, as it has for weeks now displayed a kindergarten zeal to the paintball game on the Lamada walls. From cabinet secretaries to principal secretaries, and lately the police and the courts, the riot of muddy paint and political graffiti at Lamada has gotten out of hand. A principal secretary, supposedly a junior, is telling off the deputy president, supposedly his boss. And 4 cabinet secretaries are on the verge of displacing the Big Four agenda for their undying commitment to the Lamada meetings. If you missed it, CS Peter Munya declared today that the Lamada meetings have not been stopped and will resume, probably in Lamada. Then there is Dennis Itumbi and the Lamada court case. The case has the potential to introduce more paintballs into the murky scene. In fact, on day one, Itumbi was already waving in court a paintball in form of a compact disc or CD, allegedly containing stuff from Lamada. Make no mistake, Dennis Itumbi is a rugged online child soldier who has staked his all on Jubilee, Uhuru Kenyatta, and William Ruto since the days of the ICC cases and across 2 propaganda-centered election campaigns. In court, I will not be surprised if it turns the hearing into a political paternity contest between his bosses. All in all, the Lamada circus is assured paint or mud for the government and the country. Now, which way out of Lamada? Many would say, well, Thika Road. I would disagree and say the way out of Lamada is State House. President Uhuru Kenyatta must come to terms with the fact that Lamada has divided his government and is just about to render it dysfunctional. A cabinet that is in a civil war with itself cannot discuss or deliver the Big Four agenda. When technocrats engage political bosses in open warfare, government will at best function like the Tower of Babel. The Lamada circus will be ended by first, the ending of the indifference, inaction, and indecision at State House. To salvage his legacy with 3 years to go, President Kenyatta must shut down the Lamada Paintball Center. And that he can do by reconstituting government and naming a coherent legacy cabinet. That is what presidents do. That is my kicker.
Our focus the last few weeks as a country has been on the MP's pay. We've called it many things, even here in the media. Hefty perks, greed on steroids, MPigs, legislators, and all of that. So emotive is the subject that the Nairobi women representative walked herself into a rather heated exchange on Twitter, mainly with Kenyans who seem to have lost patience with their lawmakers. The Parliamentary Service Commission was equally shrill in its defense of the now controversial night allowance. But are we really angry about the right thing? I mean, no one wants MPs to award themselves whatever allowances they dream of, but there is clearly a big picture that is missing from this debate. Where exactly is our money going? Why is the public wage bill so high? Is Parliament the only arm of government that is spending big? What of the other two? The latest quarterly economic and budgetary review paints a revealing picture. The report shows that Parliament, that is the Senate, National Assembly and Parliamentary Service Commission, spent 26.7 billion shillings. This is just 1.3% of the total expenditure of 2.1 trillion. The judiciary spent slightly less than that, at about 13.6 billion. But it is in the executive where the story really is. This arm of government that includes ministries, state departments and agencies spent a whopping 1.1 trillion shillings. Yes, that's 1.1 trillion, which translates to 52%, more than half of the national budget for the year 2017-2018. Now, it's easy to understand why Kenyans seem to be more angry at their MPs. They are the lawmakers and they can stop everyone else from this gravy train if they so wish. But how can they do that if they themselves are part of the party? In the next few days, we will probably be shouting even louder about the now popular phrase, punguza mzigo. But the questions should really be, mzigo wapi? Where exactly is the mzigo that we should be focusing on? Could we be chasing the small omena as we leave the sharks and the whales to roam the sea? The executive must no doubt be watching the constant bashing of members of parliament with glee. Who wouldn't? But folks, if it is good for the goose, it surely must be good for the gander as well. Looting is looting. Greed is greed, from whichever arm of government it comes. Let's just do the math. And that is my take tonight.
Now, tonight, I want to talk about bullying in schools. Yes, bullying. It is at times seen as a taboo topic, sometimes even normalized. You'll even hear some people justifying it. Oh, it's part of growing up. It's a way of helping you man up. I don't know what they say in girls' schools, you know. You will hear some saying it is part of the induction culture in boarding schools. Nothing can justify bullying, no matter how rosy it may be made to sound, no matter how articulately it is outlined. The latest case at Nairobi school is sad, heartbreaking, incomprehensible, unfathomable. That a victim of bullying has to undergo a brain surgery is beyond imagination. I would not want to imagine what is going through the minds of parents whose children are in Form 1 in secondary schools. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has ordered investigations into the Nairobi school saga. I hope those tasked with the probe will do a thorough job and will not in any way try to cover up. That prefects are alleged to have beaten up the student in question is heartbreaking. How can a student be allowed to discipline another student? As who? In which capacity? With whose permission? Let us not pretend. School heads are aware of bullying if and when it happens in the institutions they are managing. Though they may not expressly sanction or endorse it, wherever and whenever it happens, principals cannot be innocent. Errors of omissions are errors all the same. If a school head is keen on eliminating this vice, it will vanish. No doubt about it. And it's not just about physical bullying. Even the psychological torment that students go through in the hands of fellow students in the name of being promoted from Form 1 or monos is unacceptable. I have had some friends narrate how they were handed a pen and a piece of paper and asked to draw sweetness. Some have even been asked to fetch darkness in a cup. When I was in Form 1, some Form 4 one day asked me to sing him lullabies. I know of a friend who was handed a smelly shoe by some bully from 4 and asked to call his father at home. Such drama. What am I saying? Bullying is bullying. Form, substance or type notwithstanding. It must end. It must be dealt with decisively. It is unacceptable. It is no longer fashionable. I mean, we are in 2019, not some dark Stone Age days. That's my punchline. I hope I've not bullied you.
Now, tonight on my angle, I wish to do something unusual. That is to salute a living Kenyan politician. My rare tribute is to Dr. Ekuru Aukot, the former presidential candidate and former CEO of the committee of experts that drafted the current constitution. Now, Dr. Aukot, who also happens to be an advocate, has in the last few days hit the headlines for his radical proposals on what he wants changed in the constitution. And we have discussed some of those at length tonight. But it is not for the contents of that document that I am saluting the Third Way Alliance leader. As a matter of fact, I have reservations on the viability of some of the suggestions. And in any case, Kenyans will definitely have more than enough time to reflect on those proposals. And if it comes to it, vote on them in a referendum. What I wish to commend, however, is the fact that Dr. Aukot has converted his thoughts, whatever anyone would think of them, into a concrete set of proposals which we can, as Kenyans, act on. He has initiated one of the only two ways in which the 2010 Constitution can be changed, and it is called the Popular Initiative, prescribed in Article 257 of the Constitution. Dr. Aukot has informed the country that he has 1 million signatures collected all around the country. He has submitted the same to the IEBC as required by the law, and now he is awaiting the next steps of verification and onward transmission to county assemblies should he meet the threshold. Now that is what anyone who is serious about changing the constitution ought to do. Instead, what we have been treated to is a noisy circus of politicians hopping from one funeral to another, yapping and yarning endless tales of what part of the constitution ought to be changed. This evening, I reread the three main articles dealing with the amendment of the Kenyan Constitution, i.e. 255, 256, and 257. And guess what? I can confirm once again that the word funeral does not appear anywhere. Those key articles in the Constitution also do not mention anything about political rallies as a platform for amending the Constitution. It does not exist. I know that some of the leaders have been making presentations at the Building Bridges initiative, which continues to collect views across the country. What no one is telling us is whether BBI, as it is called, will eventually draft a referendum bill or cause someone else to do it. You see, we are a country guided by the law, or at least we ought to be. We have a constitution that we passed ourselves, overwhelmingly so, just 9 years ago. That constitution has a specific set of ways in which it can be amended. Anything outside those specific provisions, my friends, is either propaganda, a sideshow, a waste of time, ignorance, or just pointless politics. You decide. And that's my angle tonight.
All right, it's a wrap for us. Jua amesema hataki propaganda. I'm sorry, I just had to put that in there.
You decide.
You Good one. Listen, Twitter has been down, but I think it's just come up. So carry on with the feedback. The hashtag is NewsGang at Citizen TV Kenya, and you know our handles by now. Hopefully, Jamila Mohammed will be back with us next week. Hey, she has major FOMO.
Oh yes,
She's been texting all night, like, I'm missing out. So she'll be here next week, certainly. Thank you so much for watching, and your feedback and your tweets and all, and the critique as well. You decide. We will see you again next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.